recipe, and I'm going to walk you through this one. What are we making? We're making chicken cacciatore. Remember I said don't eat too much.
Okay. I already ate, sorry. But I'll still eat more. Where's the recipe?
It's coming. Just a reminder, please, folks. Last Wednesday night, groups 2 and 3, so that's this kitchen here and this kitchen here. You really need to wipe the food out of the sink and make sure that the sinks are clean, okay? All right. So let's go through this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So the recipe tonight is chicken cacciatore, and the theme for tonight was Italian. Not that we haven't had a lot of Italian already, right? I tend to gravitate towards those Italian recipes. So basically, chicken cacciatore is almost like a chicken stew done in a tomato base. And it adds a number of ingredients depending on the region of Italy that you would be in. In our area of Tuscany, one of the things that they would add to the dish when they're making it is their olives, because they're well known for their olives. And so they add olives to a number of different dishes. And so if you were to be served this dish in Tuscany, you probably would have some kind of a nice black olive in there. Other areas might include mushrooms, or they might include beans, they might include a number of different things. But tonight the recipe that we're making is just going to take advantage of some real nice basic flavors. So 2 kinds of chicken, the breast, which tends to be very tender, and chicken thighs, which tend to be very tasty. Dark meat on any kind of poultry usually has a little bit more flavor than the white, although most people prefer the white. So what I bought is boneless and skinless chicken for you, so you're not having to worry to take off the skin or the bone from it. You want to cut the chicken pieces uniformly because they cook uniformly. So you want to cook them, you want to cut them into bite-sized pieces, probably a chicken thigh is probably going to be in about 4 to 6 pieces. Okay, so that'll give you an idea. Hi. Salt and pepper them for a little bit of seasoning, and you're going to use a little bit of flour for dredging. And what we mean by dredging is that you're going to take the pieces of meat, you're going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on it, you're going to put it into the flour, and you're just going to toss it lightly. And it kind of lightly coats the outside, and then when you put that into the pan, into the oil, it kind of puts a little bit of a crispness or a browning to it. You're going to use pepper. Make sure that you wash it off, and if there's the stickers on them, take them off. And same thing, you're going to cut it in half and then use your thumbs to pull the end piece out and pull the seeds out. Remember, we put that into the compost. And then you're going to cut it into about the same size that you did for your chicken pieces. Okay? You could use any kind of pepper you wanted. You could use yellow, orange, red, green. Green actually has the stronger of all the flavors. A small onion, and they're up here, and you're just going to cut that again into bite-sized pieces. So remember, you want to cut off the root end, the other end, cut it in half one way, lay it down so you're not rolling it and open to cutting yourself, and take the skin off of it and then cut it into bite-sized pieces again, probably 4 on each side, so that would give you about 8 pieces that the onion would be cut into. 3 cloves of garlic, and again you can just put them under your knife, give it a good smash, cut off the tough end where it joins all the cloves together, and then peel that skin off, and then chop it up fairly fine. You don't want to bite into a big piece of garlic, but you want that flavor to go into the sauce. We're using a cooking wine, and that's in these bottles. Now there's not going to be alcohol in this. It's the flavor that you want from it, not the alcohol. So what happens in when we're cooking with brandy or wine or rum or any kind of liquor, that cooks off and it leaves the flavor behind. Cooking wine is got alcohol and salt added, so it wouldn't be probably a very good drinking wine because it's got some flavoring of the salt in it, but we'll use that tonight as well. The other kinds of flavoring that we're going to add to the dish include chicken broth, and so we've got some from last week when we did our last dish. If there isn't enough for 3/4 of a cup, I have powdered chicken broth that will simply boil water, add a little bit of flavoring to that, and then supplement it. But I think there probably is about 3/4 of a cup in here. A can of tomatoes, so please remember to open that lid completely up so that you don't partially open it and end up cutting yourself. You're going to use the juice of the tomatoes as well as the tomatoes, and so what you need to be able to do is drain off the juice, take out the tomatoes, dice them up because that'll help cook them down in the cacciatore. Capers, now these are interesting little bits of, has anybody used capers before? Know what they are? They're these teeny little guys. They, I think they're actually probably part of the pepper family, but they're not dried and coarse as you know pepper, they're pickled. So this one has water, vinegar, and salt, and this one has water, vinegar, and salt. So what you're going to do is these add a little bit of flavoring to the dish. So you can just chop them up. You don't want to bite into a whole one, but you want to be able to chop it up and add that flavor again in there. Oregano, you could use dried or fresh oregano, and I think I have the container out. I've got dried tonight. We used up the rest of our fresh oregano. And you're also going to use some basil, and this is nice to have fresh. So I've bought enough plants that you probably take about 1/3 of the plant. You want to be able to, you want to be able to take about 1/3 of the plant, trim off anything that, like this, where it's gone a little bit funny on the ends. And these are very tender, so you can, in fact, with this plant, chop the stem part of it right up and put into it. While your sauce is cooking, you're then going to cook up some pasta, and usually a recipe will say cook to the directions on the package. I'll say cook al dente, that means that it's soft to the bite. You're going to drain that, and then you're going to use it as a bed to pour your chicken cacciatore on. Okay? And once you've done that, you're going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it and some of the fresh basil, and that's going to be your meal. So the directions ask you to sprinkle the chicken pieces with salt and pepper and dredge the pieces in flour to lightly coat. I've talked a bit about that. In a large pan, saute pan, so you've got a large pan in your cooking unit. Heat the oil over medium heat and add the chicken pieces to the pan. Be careful not to burn things. People have a tendency to heat up their pans too hot, and when you do that, you're right, it does cook things quicker, but it also burns things, and in burning we often tend to make things bitter, particularly things like onion and peppers and garlic. So you want to sweat the sweetness out of those vegetables. You want to get the essence out of their flavors, but you don't want to overcook them so that you've burnt away the flavor. You're going to saute the chicken until it's brown. It takes about 5 minutes. You've got tongs in your kitchen, so let it brown on the bottom. Turn it over and let it brown again on the other side. Let that chicken cook fairly well. You're going to take those pieces out and you're going to put them on a plate and just leave it while you go ahead and do the rest of the recipe. So you want to leave the drippings of the chicken that you've cooked in the pan. That's going to add flavor to your sauce. And you're going to put your peppers, your onion, your garlic, and you're gonna saute those in the pan, probably using your flipper that's in there or the wooden spoon. Coat those vegetables with those drippings and let them cook down for about 5 minutes. At that point, you might want to do a little bit of seasoning in your pan again. So just a sprinkle even of salt over it and a bit of pepper over it will bring out those flavors again. And you're going to add in the diced tomatoes. So you've taken those tomatoes out and you've chopped them up. You're going to add the juice of the tomatoes into that as well. You're going to add your broth, and you're going to add your cooking wine in there. So all that liquid now is combining in that pan, and you're going to make sure that all your seasoning is in there as well. So your oregano is in there as well as the salt and pepper. Then you're going to add the chicken back into that pan that you've now created the sauce in, and any drippings that might have come off, let it go in. Give that a bit of a stir. You don't want to stir hard, but you do want to make sure that all your ingredients are mixed together. And you're going to cook that for about 20 minutes. Just reduce the heat and let it simmer. Let all those flavors come together. So while that's simmering, you're also going to have your pot of water ready to add a little bit of salt in, and then you're going to put your pasta into that. Cook it. Usually takes about 11 minutes. So about the time that that's done, your sauce is going to be ready. You're going to drain the pasta and you're going to pour your sauce over that in one of the large casserole dishes that are in your unit. One of the things about the dish is traditionally lemons are served with almost any kind of a meat dish in Italy, particularly in the area where the lemons grow, which is near the Amalfi Coast. So if you feel like tonight that you would like to take a wedge of lemon and just before you're ready to have your meal, give it a bit of a squeeze on it. Last week we did it over rice and it made quite a difference in terms of the flavor of the dish. So if you feel like putting that over your cacciatore tonight, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay? I'll pull out some large serving spoons so that it will be easier for you to take out the chicken cacciatore onto your plate. And if you don't have any other questions, then we probably could get started. Any questions about it? Okay, everybody feel comfortable with being able to dredge the chicken and fry it up? Okay, medium heat, right? Get the pan to medium heat before you add things into it, and just keep an eye on it so that you